Hello makers, and welcome to Share Stitchery. I'm Catherine Harris. Today, I thought we would do a little Thanksgiving and Halloween craft. And so what I'd like to show you is a quick tutorial on how you can turn any sweater into a cute little pumpkin. So, let's get started. So let's start with an old sweater that you already have or one that you picked up at a thrift shop. And you're going to want to use the sleeves for this. So you can see I've already cut off and started the sleeves to make the existing pumpkins I have. First thing we're going to do is we're going to measure the width of the sleeve. So this one here is about 5 inches at its widest part. And that's what we're going to use to determine how long to cut the pumpkin. So I'm cutting this off at just over 5 inches or the same width as your sleeve. So I'm just using my rotary cutter just because it's a bit easier. If you have scissors, you can also use some scissors to do that. And there we have it. So next you are going to want to get some yarn that you have, and you can use a contrasting color. I've got a variegated yarn here, and I'm putting it in a darning needle or any needle that has an eye wide enough to fit the yarn. Flip it inside out, and then what we're going to do is we're going to do a row of running stitches along the top, making sure that you go down a couple of knits so that it doesn't unravel on you. And so when we get to the end here, we are going to pull it all the way through. You can take your needle out, and then we're going to pull it just like a drawstring, nice and tight. And so then from there, we are going to tie the ends. I like to do a double knot just for extra security. And we're going to keep the tails on this. Next, we're going to grab another bit of yarn here and thread that through our needle because we need to do another running stitch along the top of our sweater. So once again, we just quickly do the running stitch all the way through. And with this one, when we get to the end, we can still pull the needle out, but we don't want to pull it taut. Now, this is the time when we're going to turn it right side out. So you can see that forms the bottom of our pumpkin where we have it cinched. And we've got all of the threads coming up. So I just used an old pillowcase for the Fiberfill here. I actually find that buying a pillowcase from Walmart, they're only about $4 Canadian, is a lot cheaper than actually buying the Fiberfill from a fabric store, and it's great quality fabric. So you fill it till it's pretty full, and then you're going to take the top threads that you had done the running stitch and you're going to draw them in. And the second set of threads there is my bottom because I want to pull the bottom taut with the top threads, and I'm just doing a double knot with those as well. And then I'm going to cut off the threads that came from the bottom. So the threads that remain are the ones that did the top stitching. Next, we're going to fold it and kind of squash it into place to make it look a little bit more like a pumpkin. So I want to flatten it a bit. Now we're going to take a longer length of yarn. We want to ensure that we have enough yarn to do all of the segments of the pumpkin as well as the curly ties at the end. So I am putting in a nice big knot at the end of my yarn. I'm putting it down through the top and then going through the bottom. And when I pull, I want to make sure that I'm pulling the knot all the way to the bottom. Then we're going to go back up through the top, making sure you're going through the top segment. Don't go back through the hole because you want to catch the fabric in there. And then when you pull, make sure you're pulling tight because we want to squash in those segments. Now you want to do 5 segments along your pumpkin to get the right shape. If you have a bit of a larger pumpkin, you might want to do a bit more, but what I found looks the best is 5 and also maintaining that odd number. And so as you're going, making sure that you continue to pull them tight and segment them evenly all the way around. If you don't quite get the segments right, you can adjust it later, but it's always good to kind of get that segment right. So once you get to the very end, pull it taut and then pull it back, push the needle back up through the bottom to get to the top. Pull this really tight, and then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to tie it with those top threads that we had, so double tie here. And then what we can do is we can cut off that thread that tied our segments. So we still left the threads that tied the initial top piece. Next, you're going to want to find either a cinnamon stick. I'm using twigs that I got from the garden here. We're doing a lot of pruning and preparing for fall, so that was quite easy for me to find. You could also use any decorative sticks. I've seen people use burlap. I'm just shoving the stick in there to create a bit of a divot. And then I'm going to put some glue in, and it's just a tacky glue. And then you push that in, and that is going to hold it in place. Then we are going to knot the yarns, and I like to do a double knot on one side to make sure that it's secure. Then I flip it around and I do a double knot on the other side. And then I like to wrap it around about 5 times because it gives a nice little decorative top to it. And then of course, we're going to double tie that knot. And here's the fun part. So you can fluff up your pumpkin, and now we get that tacky glue back. You're gonna put a little bit on your finger. You can also use spray starch, but I find the tacky glue works well as well. So you wanna saturate your yarn with that tacky glue. And once it's saturated, you are just going to form the loops and the little curly cues in the way that you'd like them to dry. The nice thing about this is it's not gonna stick to the fabric, but it'll be nice and hard so that you have a nice little design with the remainder of the tails. Now, if you want, you could always clip off those tails and, put in any other decorative embellishments that you find at stores like Michael's. I like the rustic, natural look of all of this. Everything is 100% cotton, and of course, wood from my backyard, and it's all recycled and upcycled stuff. Well, there you have it. A nice fun craft that you can do with a thrift store sweater, or one that maybe has been sitting in your closet for a bit and you don't wear anymore. The nice thing is we can also use the body of the sweater for a Christmas craft, which I will have coming up in December on how to make a stocking out of the remainder bit of your sweater. So don't throw those little pieces away. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. Thanks, guys. And until next time, let's get our sewspiration on.